Hi everyone, welcome to the OneCodeCamp channel. So in this video, we will delve into the world of SQL or SQL with practical demos of the update and alter table commands. So whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, this video will help you refine your data skills. So let's go and uncover the art of data adjustment and structural enhancement with MySQL Workbench. Let's get started.
So once again, this is 𝘋𝘈𝘁𝐴 from OneCodeCamp and welcome to our SQL tutorial. We got you covered in this SQL video tutorial. We're going to tackle about how to modify, update a data on our table, and also how to add another column inside our table. Hi everyone, welcome back again to our another SQL tutorial video. And in this video, we will learn on how to update the existing data of our tables. And for that, we are going to need the following SQL command template, which consists of update, set, then the where statement, which you are all familiar with since we discussed it on our previous video. Now, this template is not complete yet, and let me just give you the complete template. So the update statement will be followed by the table name, where we are gonna do or make the changes that we want to implement. Basically, it's to indicate the name of the table that we are going to modify, followed by the set statement. And that set statement will take the column name and the value that you wanted to add or modify, or that yes, you wanted to update. And if you want to update multiple columns with multiple values, all you have to do is indicate it there after the set and separate it with a comma, just like that. So column, let's say column 2, and give it a value 2. That's it. And so on and so forth, as long as you want to, or how many columns would you like to be updated or modified. And then lastly, this is optional, we use the where and followed by the condition. Now let me just break this down to you. Now the update statement is actually the SQL statement that we use to modify one or more existing rows in a table. That's why we indicate the table name right after the update statement. And it allows us, so yeah, basically if we add update statement or we use update statement, it makes us sure that we are allowed to make changes in the values of the table that we want to update. So basically, that's it. Now, second one is the set. Now, set statement is not used independently in SQL. It is always used as a part, not always, but it is used as a part of the update statement. So you cannot put set automatically without the update statement. So set doesn't work independently. And by saying so, the set allows us to specify a new value for the columns that we will indicate. For example, this column 1, and we're going to provide this value that we want to put in the column 1, or the specified column that we wanted to update. And then the last part, which is the where statement, this is actually conditional or optional, but this where statement is used if you want to update a particular value where you would only want to affect a certain row or a specific rows. And it's always followed by a condition. So whoever or whatever row that met this condition, they are the only rows that will be updated. Now overall, or in summary, the update statement is used to modify this table name, and we're gonna set the values that we want to update, this one, and then followed by the where to specify which rows will be affected. Now, to understand more about this, we need to use this template. And for that, we're going to create a table where we can practice our SQL skills in updating table data. So if you're ready, let's go. Okay, so for this activity or for this video, we have a bonus learning. We're going to create a database, and I'm going to explain to you some important keys, or that's usual statements or clauses that is usually used when creating table. And you guessed it right, we're gonna create a table for us to practice our table update skills. So I'm gonna paste a code in here, and I also included it on the description down below. You can check on it, just copy it and then paste it on your query tab inside your MySQL Workbench. So there you go. Let me just explain to you this line by line. If you can remember, we used to create statement to create something. Now we just indicate a database. So we're gonna create a database that has the name student_db. And for the rest of the codes, we're gonna use that database or that schema. And then inside the database, since that is newly created, it means that it is empty. We're going to create a table. And in that table, that table will have a name student. So we're going to create a table that has a name students. And that students table will have all these columns. First is the ID. So it's going to be the ID of each student. And we use the int since it will accept integer data type. Then, as you can see, there's a new statement here called primary key and auto increment. So the primary key here is a constraint that uniquely identifies each row in a table, and it ensures that the values in that specific or that specified. So this primary key is a constraint that uniquely identifies each row in a table. It ensures that the values in the specified column or columns are unique and not null. And basically, it makes that column sort of as a reference mark or reference point for that specific table, because we use this primary key especially when we're trying to search, to join, and sort data. And we just make this ID as its primary key. Now the other one here is the auto increment. As its name, auto increment, it makes this ID column have a property that is applied, or once applied, and it will become an integer column. And usually this is associated with the primary key. Now it automatically generates a unique value for each new row that will be inserted on the table. For example, we're gonna add this value. As you can see, we did not add the ID because it will auto increment. For example, we insert this one automatically. Since we have the auto increment, this ID will become either 0 or 1. So usually it starts with 1, and this is gonna be 1. And if we insert another data, the ID for this row will be 2, so on and so forth. So that's the use of auto increment, and it's usually associated with the primary key, because combining both primary key and auto increment is a common practice for creating tables with an automatically incrementing primary key, such as ID. Now, basically, we already tackled about this. The next column would be the name with a character with 100 maximum length for the name. We have the age, which is also an integer, the gender for a character, then the course, which is also a character or a string. Now, after we created the table, since it's still empty, we haven't have any data there yet, we're gonna insert some data there. So we have sample data here. We just used the insert into statement, and we followed it with the name of the table. Then we indicate the columns. We have the name, age, gender, and course to be filled with the following values. As you can see, the first value would be the first, which is the name, the age, gender, and the course. So it should be aligned or in the same order. And if you want to add multiple values, just separate it with a comma, as you can see in here. And it's also enclosed with an open and close parenthesis. So we're gonna insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables into it. Now if we run this and execute this, there you go, we have a check in here. And if we refresh our schemas, there you go, we have now our student database. It's successfully created. Now if we look at the table inside the student DB, we have the students table. And if we right click onto it, select its rows, it's gonna show us another tab for queries, and it just uses select from the student DB schema and dot the name of the table. As you can see, let me just bring this up a bit. There you go. We can see we have 5 names, and if we go back here, you can see we have Jan Doe, Jane Smith. So the idea of this should be 1 since we put an auto increment here and we assigned it as a primary key. If you check the student, or let's get back, as you can see, there's no ID number here indicated, right? Because we made the ID auto incremented. Now check the students again. As you can see, the ID has been set. So it started with 1, then it automatically increments once another data is inserted in the tables. 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically this will be our table, and this table is the table that we're going to use to practice our updating skills using SQL statements. Now I prepared some of the activities that we're gonna do. So if you're ready, let's just close this. Let's not close this to this table. We're gonna use it as a reference. Let's get back to query and just clear this query tab. And now we have a clean slate or clean state. Let's go and get started. Okay, now for our activity number 1, I'm just gonna paste it in here together with the instructions. There you go. So for our sample one, we're gonna update a single value in a specific column and specific row. So for the activity one, suppose we want to update the course of the student with ID 3, which is Michael Johnson, to economics. So if we check the students table here, so we want to change the course of Michael Johnson, which has an ID number of 3. So from business administration, here, we're gonna change it into economics. So how to do that? Simply, we're gonna use the template. It's update, followed by the table name that we're gonna modify, which is students. Oh, by the way, don't forget to use. Then what's the database name again? It's students underscore DB. Always use students DB so that you don't have to write it all over again, or the the database name again, then followed by the table name. So we can directly write the table name. So there you go. So update students, which is the name of the table, followed by what statement? The set. Now we're gonna specify the column and the value that we're going to change. So first is change the course. Let's find that course. So its column name is course, and the value that we're gonna change, or that we're gonna update, is the economics value. So let's say course, since that's the column name, then the value, the equal sign to equate, and then the value, which is a text called economics. There you go. And then the next part, since we need to specify to which row should this be changed, because if we don't set this to a specific row, it's gonna affect all rows. So if you just check the students, all of this course will be changed. But since we just want to target this row where Michael Johnson is, we're gonna use the where statement. And what's the condition? The ID is equals to, since we're here, we in the instruction update the student with ID 3. So ID is equals to 3. There you go. And always end with a semicolon. Now let's check. After we've done this, we're gonna check it. So we're gonna use the select. Let's retrieve the updated table. So select star or asterisk to select all, or it means all. Then from the students table. So there you go. Now let's go ahead and run this. Okay, students DB. Oh, we have a typographical error here. It's students instead of students. There you go. Oh yeah, it's just student underscore DB. Now let's run it again. There we go. So as you can see from our previews, it was business administration, but when we update the value using update set where, the course of Michael Johnson was now set from business administration to economics. So this is somehow the template that we can use when we're trying to update a specific column in a specific row. So are you ready now for the second activity? Okay, good. So let's just delete this all. And then, oh yeah, I'm not gonna delete it all entirely. I'm just gonna keep this use and this one also, because this, so that every time that we change this one, we're still gonna retrieve to check the updates of our table. So yeah, let me just remove this, that one. Then we're gonna clear this out because that's our template, the update, set, and where. So let me remove that, and let me just show you our second activity or second sample. There you go. Let me just comment this out so that it won't be included when we execute the program or the statement. There you go. So for sample 2, we're gonna update multiple values or columns in a specific row. So if you can see this, it means that we're just gonna modify a specific row, but multiple columns will be affected. So let's check the instruction. Let's say we want to update both the age and gender of the student with ID 4, which is Emily Brown. Let's check Emily Brown. There you go. So let's say Emily was actually, Emily was a boy and she is age, I say 20. So, or not a boy, but a male perhaps. So to do that, of course, again, we're gonna use update, and let's specify the table name. So students, still students. Now we're gonna set the columns that's going to be affected. So it should be the column age, and of course we specify the value for that column. So if we check our students here, it was 19. So let's say the real age of Emily is actually 20. Then if we add another, or if we want to modify another column, we just separate it with a comma. And then the next is the column name again, which is, we have here the gender. Let's say that instead of female, he's actually a male. Emily is actually a male. So you insert there the value for the gender. Now we just need to give this update to that very specific row, or to that specific student. Now we're going to use the where and give the condition. So what condition? The ID number should be 4 or equal to 4. Then don't forget the semicolon. There you have it. Now if you come up with the same idea, let's go ahead and run it. Let's run it. And there you go. As you can see, we were able to update the age and the gender of just Emily Brown. We haven't affected all of these students. So if we check from our previous, Emily Brown is supposed to be 19, or was initially 19 years old and a female, but since we updated it to its current form, so Emily Brown is actually age 20 and the gender was changed to male. So that's it. That's how you update multiple values or columns in just a specific row. Now let's say that we want to update a single value for multiple rows. Or rows. Let me just copy this and paste the activity here. There you go. So what if we have this scenario? What if we want to update just a single value but on multiple rows? Let's say we're gonna affect John Doe, Jane Smith, and Ellie Brown, or let's say, yeah, based on activity. Let's just read it. In this case, we want to increase the age of all female students by 1 year. So we're gonna change the, okay, let's turn back Emily's gender into female so that we can have a lot of female, or we have more than female. There you go. So Emily Brown and Jane Smith are already female here on our data, or on our table. So let's say that we need to increase the age of all female students by 1 year. So how can we do that? Of course, we need to use the word update statement followed by the table that we're gonna update. So update the students table, and then use the set statement. So let's read it. Update the students table and set the what? The age, where age should be incremented by 1. So it's gonna be age plus 1. There you have it. Since we're just gonna change the age, we don't need this, since we're just gonna update a single value or single column. And now the tricky part, we're just going to choose a particular list of students. So for that, the condition should be, it should be all female. So where can we get this female? Of course, in the gender column. So for the where, the condition, for the where statement, the condition should be where their gender is equal to female. And that's it. Just basically it. Now let's go ahead and run this. Okay, we had an error. So it says here you are using safe update mode, where uses the key column to disable safe mode. Oh, we're actually in a safe mode so that it would not allow us to modify multiple values at the same time on our table, because we might have affect too many variables. So to change this is actually just a security feature of MySQL Workbench. Now let's integrate, or let's resolve this. It says that here, toggle the option in preferences, then SQL editor. Again, click edit, go to preferences, then go to SQL editor tab, and then save updates. There you go. So let's just uncheck that, click OK. Now let me just restart this. Let's try to do it again. Let's run. So it's still not going on. Let me just restart this. So I'm just gonna close this one. Don't worry, it would still be saved. So let me just reopen my workbench. There you have it. And I'm just gonna log in, enter my password, and there you have it. It's still saved. Don't worry. Now let's just go ahead and run this. So that's actually a security feature of Workbench, so that you won't update multiple rows at a time. You can just turn it off by going to edit, preferences, and then click this SQL editor, scroll down until you see this save update. So it would reject updates and deletes with no restrictions. So I'm just gonna cancel since I already unchecked it. Now let's go ahead and run this one. At first, let's run. This is already updated. There you go. As you can see, this is the most recent one that we have. And let's run it. Let's run this one. Let's run this one. There you have it. So as you can see from our previous, the age of Jane Smith is 22 and Emily Brown is 20. But when we update the table and set their age to an increment of 1, or we added 1, Jane Smith is now already 23 years old, while Emily Brown is now 21 years old. And the rest of the age, they are still the same for those who are male, like John Doe, which is 20, and here, John Doe is still 20. For this one, Michael Johnson is 21, but on our updated table, Michael Johnson is still 21. Only the female students' age were changed. So basically, that's it. That's how you update single value on multiple rows. So for our last activity, how about let's say we want to update multiple values for multiple rows. So let me just reset this or change this one and paste here the activity or the last activity that we can demonstrate on how we can update values on our table. And I'm just gonna show you later on what happens if we don't use where, okay? So yeah, for our last activity for updating tables, it says here that here we want to update the age and the course of all students whose age is greater than 21. Okay, so for those who are students that has the age of that is greater than 21 should have, let's say their course should be let's say advanced studies, okay? Or let's give them political science. That let's change it to political science. Make their subject into, or let's say make their course into political science. That's it. So as you can see, all of them have different courses, but we're gonna update the courses of those students who had ages that is greater than 21. So the one will be affected is Jane Smith and William Lee, since they have the age over 21. Now, how to do that and translate that into SQL statement or command? Of course, let's still use the studentDB or the studentDB database. Then we're gonna update and specify the table name, which is the students, and we're gonna set what? The course. Let's say, oh, it says here we want to update the age and course of all the students. Let's say, yes, here we're gonna update the age first. So let's say age. So we actually had a mistake. What if they're actually younger in 1 year? So we're gonna update the age. You can also use the minus, since we're gonna minus there. We're gonna decrease their age. Let's say that there was error in this table and their age is actually 1 year younger compared to the dates that we have. So we're gonna decrease their age by 1. And so for those who have greater than 21, so for example, we have Jane Smith and William Lee, so their age will be shrunk to 1. So instead of 23, they will be turned to 22. And then we're gonna give them the political science subject, so or course. So the course, there you go, and set it to political science. Basically, that's it. And then for the where, of course, it's only going to affect those who have the age which is greater than 1. Now let's go ahead and what will it do? And there you go. So as you can see, Jane Smith had his age. Oh yeah, we had it wrong. So I changed it to 1, so it should be 21. Now as you can see, all of them now have their courses changed to political science. So let's say I made it wrong. Let's increase their age by 1. Here, if I don't use where, let me show you. So what if I don't use the statement where? What will it do? Now this statement will update all of the rows in our table that has a column age. So as you can see, we have 19, 22, 20, 20, 22. You can take note of that to check the difference. Now let's run this. As you can see, all of the age were updated and were incremented to 1. Now let me go back to the previous statement that we have to update the age So I'm gonna use this. We're gonna decrease their age again for those who are age 21 above, not 21 and above, but above 21. And let's change their course. Since all of their courses have been changed to political science, let's change it to let's say values education. There you go. And then if we run that, it's only gonna change Jane Smith's because Jane Smith's and Emily Brown's subjects and ages, because they are the rows that met the requirement of having an age over 21. So there you have it. That's typically how you use the update statement followed by set and where. And if you don't use where, it's gonna affect all of the rows. So basically, this is the template that you can use to update your tables using MySQL. You just remember the update followed by the table name, then the set, of course, followed by the column name and the value that you want to update. And if you want to update multiple columns, just separate it with a comma. And then to specify the specific rows that we want to update, use the where statement and provide the necessary condition for that. So basically, that's it. And since now we are done with updating our table, what if we wanted to add another column inside our table? What should we do? Of course, we do have an SQL statement for that, and that is, let me just remove all of this. And that is actually alter table. There you have it. And it's followed by the table name. Just that. And does it end there? No, of course. It's needing another set of statement, which is called add, because we are going to add a table. So basically, that's it. Now, alter table statement allows us to modify a table. Basically, that's it. It's different from update table, okay? Because alter table command is actually used to modify the structure of an existing table. So as you can see, if you want to change or modify the table's data, we use the update statement. But if we want to modify the structure of a table, we use the alter table statement. So don't be confused with the update and alter table. They are basically used to allow us modify tables. However, if we just want to modify data of our table, we use the update statement. And if we want to modify the structure of our table, we use the alter table statement, okay? And then just like update that is always followed by set, alter table is also followed with some statements. And the one that we're going to feature now in this video is the add statement. Now, this add statement will be followed with the, as you can see, if you can remember, when we're creating table and adding or assigning a table, we always use with a column name, its column name, and then followed by its data type. So actually, it's still the same thing that goes in here. We're going to use alter table, indicate the name, and then add the add statement, and followed by the column name and the data type. Basically, that's it. So let's say that we want to add another column to this students table, okay? And let's say we're gonna add a grade column in this one. So how can we do that? Let me just remove all of this, or let me just modify it later on. Or I'm gonna keep it that way. Here you go. And I'm just gonna comment this out there so that we can have what we call this, a copy or a basis to our statement. Now let's start with, don't forget the use and indicate the database name. So student_db. We're gonna use that database. Now next is we're gonna alter the table, and the table name is student. So if we read this, it's like, please use the student DB database or schema and alter the table students. There you go. And then what do you want to alter with the table? I'm going to add a column, and that column name is called grade. And the data that it's gonna accept is an integer. So it's only gonna accept a number. Then I end it with a semicolon. There you have it. So basically, by this time, we're already done adding another column to our students table. But to show it to you and to check on it so that we could see the changes, we're gonna retrieve it again. So we're gonna use select, then asterisk or star to select all,
gotten from, and from what? From the student's table. So, and it with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and run this. And if you can see, in our table, previously it's just like this. It doesn't have any extra here, extra column. But now, since we used the outer table and click, and we had it add another column was added, and the name is grade, and it's still empty. Why? Because we haven't assigned any values in here yet. And to assign values in that, it's still the same. You can use the insert into, or also you can use the update, set, and where. It's really up to you. Now, for your learnings, you can explore on this, and let's check out if you can add value to this grade. It's all up to you, and you can comment down on the comment section the result of what did you use to add values to this grade, and did you use the insert into, or did you use the update and set? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our session or our video for today, and see you again on our next YouTube tutorials. Thank you.